So I've also heard you say, and I feel like it's one of maybe your like limiting beliefs, because like you don't seem like a guy that has a lot of them, but you're like, oh, sometimes it gets really sad when I think about all of the things I want to do and there's just not enough time. And that's like one of your driving forces for like longevity. So I was curious if you are like considering kind of like creating an AI version of yourself, like creating a synthetic consciousness. So I don't know if you know, like Tony Robbins is, I guess, like working on that right now. He's trying to create like a synthetic Tony. So if Tony dies or when he dies, there's going to be an AI version of him. So almost like that Black Mirror episode where you're uploading your consciousness into the cloud. So I could see you doing that. I'm curious if you've ever thought about it.
It's interesting. We looked at it really hard from like a maybe more basic version of what Tony's trying to do, where it's consuming so much of your content that it basically knows how you would answer questions. And so it's like a really advanced chatbot. And we looked at that, it got pretty serious. And I think that's going to be very real in the next 3 to 5 years, where you can truly create an AI version. It looks like me. It can move my mouth, make my expressions, just because there's so much content for someone like me who's filmed. I mean, I can't even imagine how many hundreds of hours of content I put out there. So every weird face that I make, every, sort of sly comment, my inflections, my pauses, my jokes, my theories, all of it, you could shove into this thing. And they're getting very sophisticated at how they cough it back up. So I think it will be inevitable that, say, 3 to 5 years from now, you go to my website, you're greeted by me, and you can ask me all the sort of basic FAQ stuff, and I'll give you really good answers. But it will be, I don't see, until computers have a body, which they could get. I mean, it's a very doable thing. But until they have a body, I don't think that it'll ever get good at predicting what I would say. It will never be able to say something I've never said before.
Interesting.
It will be able to give you the things that I've said in a very shrewd way. I'm thinking out loud here. It would amalgamate from other people maybe that are like me. And so it's drawing on somebody else and giving you what looks like a unique thought of mine, but it's actually maybe I'm taking a little bit of something Tony said and something you've said, and now I say this new blended idea of those two things. I could see them doing that. But the reason I think that there's a body component is there's a nerve in the body, the vagus nerve. It's the biggest nerve in the body. And it sends 80% of feedback from the body to the brain. And so just knowing how much of communication goes from the body to the brain, I just don't think this is ever going to happen until there's body feedback coming in.
That's so interesting. So I haven't thought about putting it into a body, but so do you think that there's ever a point where that synthetic consciousness is indistinguishable from actual consciousness? And then do you kind of get into a moral dilemma if that's the case?
Ooh, yeah. In terms of like, can you force them to work for you? Do you need to pay them a wage? There is a point. If something is truly conscious, like if just like us, then I don't think it matters if it has a silicon body or not. I think you really have to say like, it's a conscious being. So the real like scary part is, what about if it can mimic consciousness? Like, then what? Where it's really just a chatbot, like truly for what? Let's pretend that there's a test that you could run and you can say definitively, this is just a chatbot, but it emotes and makes you feel like it's feeling something. Then what do you do? I still don't think that we could do it. I don't think that we could treat it poorly. And if you can, you're like a sociopath. It's like, I actually speak kindly to Siri. I can't help it. I feel like such a dick if I'm like, hey, do this. It's like, hey, Siri, can you, and then you fill it in. And I don't know, it makes me feel differently about myself, even to be bossy around her. And I worry what it would do if people grow up where they don't even think about it. They're just bossy. And then robots get better. And then robots seem semi-conscious and kids are still just like kicking it and bossing it around. It's like, I don't spend a lot of time worrying about it. Admittedly, it's just sort of a fun thought exercise, but it's interesting.